you provide a bookkeeping service?
Definitely. Definitely. In fact, I'm going to a training in 2 days with QuickBooks Online. So,
could you expand a little bit on the bookkeeping service? The reason why I'm asking is because I think in the last couple of years that has blossomed out as a service to be provided. No longer, most companies no longer have. Well, small companies, they do require the service of a bookkeeper, but they don't have to hire someone in-house.
awesome.
Because of the technology, cloud technology, that allows that.
That is the big challenge.
Can you expand a little on how that is going, like.
That's something, awesome question for a group of accountants. So companies like Square, companies like QuickBooks are making life easier for small business owners. Meaning, a lot of times it was, oh, this accounting thing, I'm not sure what it is. Whereas now they've made the technology and the intuitiveness of technology have made it much more challenging for, like she's saying, us guys to come in and provide that expertise, because a lot of that detail is now given to them in that software. So it is becoming more challenging. So really what you want to do is you want to kind of get in there and you want to be more advisory. So it's like, okay, you've got this information. Now what are you going to do with it? So I'm looking to, to still provide, that service to certain clients. But certain clients are not going to want to deal with any accounting, but they're just not going to want to do it. But for the clients that say, okay, I've kind of figured this thing out, check in every so often, then we'll talk. That's when you have to become more advisors. That's when you have to kind of dig deep and understand, okay, who are you, where you want to take your business, and be able to kind of advise them on that. And for that, I also provide a service. I also charge a fee for that. So that's kind of where that is kind of going with business. The payroll is very similar. That payroll, because of technology, it's making it easier. But there's, again,
is the payroll part of the bookkeeping service or separate?
It can be both. So it depends on the client's needs. So the client can have a situation where, like, they want to deal with people on their own, see their own books, or they want to do the payroll, on their own as well. So it's kind of either, bundled together or a la carte. So it just kind of depends on the needs of that particular client. And everyone, every client is going to be different.
Is there specific software for the bookkeeping service?
A lot of people use QuickBooks. I have a client now, it's a vegan restaurant, where they're using Square, and Square is making life for them a lot easier. It's making, it's categorizing a lot of their expenses, it's categorizing the revenue, so they're able to give reports that traditionally would have been done by the accountants, for them. It's now kind of providing that for the user.
Never heard of Square. Is it new?
You definitely look at Square. Square is about to go, I think it's going to go public soon, but you definitely want to look at Square if you're the accounting professional. I'm sure your background, but Square is probably going to be a competitor to QuickBooks, just based on what I've seen. In fact, Square had a relationship up until within the last month with Starbucks. So if you're ever going to Starbucks, they use Square. And they just make, in terms of categorizing expenses, categorizing revenue, they just made life a lot easier for a lot of the business owners. So
how is it? How is it different from QuickBooks? Is it easier, more efficient?
Well, QuickBooks, at the point of sale, it's happening at the point of sale. So a lot of times, with QuickBooks, you kind of have to, you have to download the transactions, and you go in separately, and you categorize it. Whereas Square can you can swipe that stuff, and they can kind of categorize that stuff. So it makes it, like I said, it's looking like it's going to be a competitor to QuickBooks. And the way Square was founded was actually, I think it was Jack Dorsey, I think his name. He actually had a friend of his where he was like an architect, actually a sculptor, and he was a one-man shop, and he did not have a way of processing client orders. Like, he didn't have a traditional credit card machine. So he created Square for him, and that's why Square is really kind of focusing on individual business owners. So, next question.
I think we'll take 2 more questions. I have one. Sure. From an employer standpoint, if we were looking at us as a pool of candidates to work for you, what would stand out most besides a degree in hygiene?
Work experience. I definitely want work experience. Like I said, I've dealt with interns since 2011. I did what you guys did, where I worked on the Senate campaign. Whatever you can do to work, I don't care what it is. Just because when you come in and you've got extensive experience, and if you've got extensive technical experience, that's great. Like your experience with JP Morgan, awesome. Like when you walk in, someone who doesn't have that, you're going to be pushed further ahead of the line than someone who doesn't have that experience. It's not to say like the other experience isn't there, but being able to get that branding, get that work experience, being able to talk about that work experience, being able to talk about that work experience what's relevant for the new job is definitely something that you guys definitely want to have. So I think I was talking with young ladies before, but whatever internships you guys can get, especially if you guys are freshmen, there should not be a summer where you're not working. You gotta when you eventually graduate, you're gonna want to have every year some type of experience, and it can be, if you have a variety of experiences, then that means that you've got a wider knowledge base. So let's say, for instance, you worked in a software company, you worked in a finance company, all in college. That's going to say, okay, you've got a different skill set, explain that to me, and it becomes more attractive to an employer. But if you just walk in and you don't have experience and you don't have something that you can talk about and you can't contribute to, the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the company, then you're kind of at a disadvantage there. So,
yeah. To follow up on this question, besides work experience, what kind of personality traits do you look at?
It depends. It depends, because some people are very, if you're in sales and you're the life of the party, then that's the job for you. But if you're the introvert and you're the one who can hunker down, you can whether it's doing code or you're talking about actuarial accounting, you can really focus on that and get that job done. That really goes to the culture of the company and knowing who you are. So I would not worry as much about the personality for the job. Because again, you have successful people that are introverts and successful people that are outtroverts. So it just really depends on, again, what your skill set is, what you bring to the table, and what you can do for that particular company. Like, if you work in event planning, then you're going to be the life of the party. You're going to have a couple of drinks with people, because that's kind of what's built into that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry as much. I think, like I said, the experience and what you're looking to do is kind of the bigger thing that you really want to focus on.
How long does it position last?
So usually you can do one, in most cases during the summer. A lot of times, they come on campus. This was the biggest mistake I made in college, so but you can learn from this. I went to school in Virginia, and the internship, the companies for the internships came in September for the next year. So they came in September, sometimes October. I'm like, I'm having fun. You guys are not interrupting that. And I did not have the discipline to take the responsibility of going to the career fairs in September, in October, and say, okay, let me prepare for the summer. So it was a summer internship, late May, early June, until the school year ends, and we're looking at probably mid-August to late August. So those are the experiences that you really want to kind of get under your belt, because that's what's going to matter, and that's what companies, as you start to build up your resume, are going to look at. So if the same way you guys are stressing about midterms right now, like I need you to stress about getting internships. And I know it's kind of a burden, but that's what college is. You're taking responsibility, but you definitely want to, if you haven't already, you definitely want to start planning for this coming summer. You want to reach out to JP Morgan or Facebook or Google or Credit Suisse or whatever company that you're thinking about working at, and saying, okay, how do I get an internship in there? How do I kind of get on your radar? How do I get an interview? Informational interview. A lot of times you guys do what are called informational interviews, where it's not necessarily looking for a job, but it's like, okay, let me get some background on the company. Obviously I read stuff in the New York Times, I see stuff on my Facebook timeline, but let me get a better understanding of what this business is. Can I get information? And because you're college students now, it's great, you guys can get in. It's a little tougher once you graduate, so I definitely recommend taking advantage of that now. But that's that kind of the length of, like I said, an internship. I actually have students now, a student now where the internship is part of the 15 hours that she's taking. So she's getting 3 credits for the internship that she's taking. So just depending on the circumstance. And you know, if you guys, I'm not sure what the course load is, but if you guys have a situation where, you know, you're required or something like that to get an internship and you do it during the course of the year, definitely. Because again, that work experience, you know, whenever you get it, is going to be valuable as you start to move in your career.
You said that like an internship lasts about a month though?
No, about 3 months or so.
Okay, so what if you know that during those 3 months you have like a week that you have to take off? Do you think that they will still choose you?
Depends on the company. And you don't want to leave like that. You don't want to say, oh yeah, I'm going to take this job, but I'll be out in a month. Like, technically you're supposed to be able to do it, but if I have someone, if I'm looking at 2, 5, 10 candidates, you come to me and you say, yeah, I'm really great, but I'm going to take off a week, and then someone comes in and just is great.
So it's better to like tell them like,
Well, I'm not sure what the circumstances are, but you know, this is part of getting into the corporate culture, that some companies are more flexible than others with the whole idea of coming in and missing a week. So I could sit here and tell you, well, you're supposed to get that week of this year. It may not work that way. But the flip side is, if you've got a relationship with someone, they know that, you kind of